All right, Lizzie Dories is here. Hello, Lizzie. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, the
Okay.
background. I'm charging my laptop, or I want to keep my laptop plugged in, and this is like the proper angle
Oh,
to
sure.
be able to sit. That's
That's
like
okay.
not on the floor, so you have to like see this. I don't want the light there.
Oh,
I don't want to turn off the lights. Like, so maybe just the staircase. I'll figure something out.
okay. Whatever works for you. Any background is fine with me.
Hopefully my head blocking the background.
The
I guess
light?
maybe, yeah.
That actually looks nice because then you have a halo effect.
Around,
like you're a being from, you're an angel, right?
yeah, like
It's really good to see you.
it's good to see you too, Cara.
How have you been?
I've been good. I'm actually, so today, for this week's in particular, today is my Friday.
Oh,
So
good for you.
I'm taking tomorrow off, and I haven't taken a full planned vacation since July of 2021. So I told my boss, I said, like, I would actually really like Friday and Monday off if that's okay. And she's like, go for it.
Good for you. Oh, I'm glad that you get some vacation time. Oh,
yeah,
good.
I don't need much. I just need like a nice comfy couch and a good book and
That's the best kind of
a
vacation.
few more hours of sleep.
Right. Oh man, well then I hope you enjoy the nice long weekend. Good.
Thank you.
And I'm grateful that you could come and join us today. And
Yeah.
we're gonna have, I was so happy to see we have another, I think I have an audience member, so I'll wait to admit them. But hi Lori, thanks for coming to join us today for the Alums Talk Careers. Oh,
I hope she's there.
Me too. Maybe the sound is, I hope she can hear us.
Well, I'm glad that you can hear me because I was a little self-conscious about that.
Definitely. I know it's always troubleshooting technical, issues is always like the thing with the Zoom. So I get it. But yeah, one of these days, I swear we will get around to coffee. I have been wanting to do that for years and years. It feels like years and years.
Like I told my sister, like, I'm taking some time off, and she's like, oh, do you want to go to a concert tomorrow? And I'm like, this is too much. This is going too fast. Like, I just need to relax. Like, everybody wants to like meet up and stuff. Totally. I just said, like, I just want to sit on the couch with you and drink Earl Grey. That's all I want to do.
That sounds lovely. Oh my gosh. Lizzie, meet Sage. Sage, this is Lizzie.
Hi.
Pardon me.
My apologies in advance. It's officially 5:30, so.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. Today's my weekend has started because I'm taking Friday off. So I'm in my nice, like, kind of comfy sweater. Like,
I love that. Well, because it's officially fall now.
It is like yesterday was the last day of summer. We were making a joke at my work that it's like, oh, when the very first leaf turns orange, the icy wind blasts through because it was really cold at our office today.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm wearing my sweater poncho because same thing. It's kind of chilly today, and I feel the same. It's chilly in the office as well.
I was downtown today, and I made the mistake of walking outside today without a jacket, and I got really cold. So I went to DePaul after my class, and I bought a sweater. I bought a DePaul sweatshirt. Not that I need it anymore, but you know what?
You can never have enough DePaul swag.
We still buy like DePaul travel mugs. So like we have DePaul travel mugs and coffee mugs and stuff. So
that's awesome. Hi, Lori. Can you hear us okay?
I can see her now.
I can see. Yep. Oh, now it says connecting to audio. Okay. Good. And I know Alma is getting set up in her office too. Lori, can you hear us okay? Oh, I see talking, but I don't hear you. I try unmute for a minute.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
How are you?
Lovely. I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Oh man, I'm so grateful. So we have I was overjoyed. We have 8 alumni that can join us for the event, and Tendai is going to join us. I think Lori, I think you know Tendai from the
Yes.
fair and from the office. So he's going to join in. Let's see if let me admit Tendai, and then I'm just going to wait a minute or two to see if we have Erin Rose Ryder, and we have, let's see, Alma, I'm going to admit her. And so everyone will have about 5 minutes to share their experiences. And the questions that we want you to answer are actually written on the slide, so that if you need to reference the questions, they're right there for you. You can take a look. The questions are mostly about, tell us about your study abroad experience and how did it impact your career outcomes or your professional choices, after DePaul, right? So you can talk about those things. Thank you, Tendai and Alma, for joining us. How are you guys today? Good. Great. All right. Awesome sauce. Alma, is my volume too high, or are we good? Okay, good. All right. I was gonna say Alma's in the next office, and sometimes we get an echo effect happening. All right, let me see. David is here. I'm going to admit him, and then Claire is here. Wonderful. And then I think the only person that we're waiting for might be Erin Rose. And we have about 6 people in the waiting room, so that's nice. We're going to have some attendees here. Just so you guys know that the session is going to be recorded. So we'll probably publish it. We'll maybe edit out. We'll trim off the beginning and the end a little bit, but we'll go ahead and publish this later on in our DePaul Study Abroad YouTube channel. Can I say hello, David, and hello, Claire? It's so nice to see you guys, and yay!
Hello.
Thank you so much I'm just overjoyed that you guys are part of this session. I'm so excited to see our alumni. It's always a treat to reconnect and hear stories and have you guys teach the prospective students about all of your experiences. So thank you guys so much for doing that. Let's see. I may wait 1 more minute to give Erin Rose a little more time, but then we can go ahead and get started. Does anyone have questions before the session begins? Yeah, Lori?
Oh, no, I was just taking a look at the presentation here.
Sure, yeah. Yes, Sage.
Did you get my picture?
I did. So let me show you real quick. So Sage, I changed your picture to this. Good. And then Lori, I actually took the images that you shared and I plugged them into this presentation. So that
Fantastic.
Awesome. Great. That way you can talk about all of the cool things
Okay.
that you did. Wonderful. Okay, so let's see. I'm thinking I don't want to lose our audience members. So I don't know. You guys think we should give 1 more minute for Erin Rose? I'll message her real quick and just make sure that we're all on the same time zone. Because I know sometimes time zones can be, it's like, wait a minute, what time are we meeting again? All right. So how do you guys feel about getting started? And we can always change the order. If Erin Rose gets here later, she can pop in back in, we can circle back. Does that sound good? Okay. Yeah, thumbs ups. Okay. All right, thanks guys. We'll go ahead then and we will get started. Okay. I'm going to admit the
Cara, just a heads up, we can see PowerPoint, but not like the presentation mode.
Oh, presentation mode. Thank you. Thank you for, see, this is why multiple heads are better than one. Slideshow from the beginning. Is that better? Excellent. Okay, here we go. I'm going to admit everyone. You guys ready? All right.
Yes.
Admit all. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Study Abroad Alums Talk Careers. This is a special session that is part of Study Abroad Week this year for the fall 2022 term. And we're super excited that we could connect our amazing and wonderful alumni to our current student body and to prospective study abroad students. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. And so in today's session, what we're going to do is we're going to meet 8 of our DePaul Study Abroad alumni. And these are individuals who are enthusiastic about sharing stories of what it was like for them to study abroad and how that international learning experience impacted and influenced their personal and professional paths, and how it really made a difference in terms of their career outcomes after graduating from DePaul. So they're really going to talk about how study abroad can benefit you professionally. So each alumni, we have 8 alumni with us today. Thank you guys so much for being here and being with us. Each alumni will have about 5 minutes to speak and to share their experience. And then after we meet each alumni, we will go ahead and have a question and answer session for about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the session. And then we will wrap up the session with a reminder of our Study Abroad Week events that will be happening, or event that will be happening tomorrow. Okay, so that said, let's go ahead and meet our first alumni. Please introduce yourself and share your story.
All right, thank you so much, Cara. Hello, everyone. As you can see here, my name is David, and I like this picture way more than the LinkedIn picture that I had sent over, so this is good, very DePaul. So as you can see here, I studied in Rome. I actually did the program twice. The program looked a little different each time I did it, but I did it once in the fall of 2017, and then once in the fall of 2018, and then I graduated from DePaul in 2019. Currently, I work, you can see here my title, it says Human Performance Specialist, which is just a fancy way of saying management consultant, basically, for a very large company called Accenture, and I do specifically like change management there. Yeah, so I'll kind of dive into it. First, let me just explain a little bit about the program I did. So it was a language immersion program to begin with. They switched up the curriculum a little bit the second year to include more business students that could join in, but I still got the language piece. I lived with a host family, which was super exciting, and I got to stay with the same host family both times. And the second time I was there, I got to do almost like an internship experiential learning thing at a local senior center in the community where my host family was. So had a really great time. Have been back a bunch since. Coincidentally, my mom was born and raised in Italy, so I have reasons to go back and whatnot. So yeah, so that's what I did during my time studying abroad. And let's see, I know the questions are here. I looked at them a million times, but I'm going to try to. Okay. So how did it influence my professional path? Well, interestingly, I guess in a way, it really influenced the type of career I searched out, because one of the professors I had the second time around was a consultant. And I was like, what the heck is consulting? That could be so many things. Essentially, it's you just go into other companies and tell them what they could do better, et cetera. But at the time, I didn't know what that was. So that actually encouraged me to explore it a little bit more. And that's actually how I ended up finding out about the company that I work at now, where I applied when I was a senior. So very, very literally, the professor I had steered me in that direction. And then how did it kind of impact? So I would say really with international, and I'm going to kind of speak to if you're coming from an American perspective. So maybe you're an international student and then you also want to study abroad and go somewhere else. But as being someone who was born and raised in the United States and having a US passport, I learned that we're very big and we can be very diverse, and there are many different things you can find here at home. We still never really get a chance to step out of our perspective, I guess, or out of our little bubble that we live in. Like we have Canada to the north. Like if you want to talk about land borders, we got Canada and Mexico, right? That's pretty much all we've got around us, and we're big, right? So we're kind of isolated from a lot of different places. And so you don't really get to experience not just other cultures, but other languages, other ways of doing things, unless you actually take that extra step and put yourself in an entirely different context. So little things like day-to-day things that you typically take for granted. I was astonished at how suddenly I noticed them, and I was hyper-focused on them when I was somewhere else. I was astonished at how it took time to be patient and understand someone else's way of thinking and way of doing things. And so it really taught me a big lesson in the way of empathy and actually being able to take myself out of my own context and put myself in the shoes of someone else. And I will say that, being able to be a lot more empathetic and being able to, kind of get out of my own shoes and into someone else's has been widely appreciated by folks that I work with. I mean, it was asked about in my initial job interview, because on my resume next to the university, I put, studied abroad in Italy for X amount of time, language immersion, etc. There were questions about that right away. We're in an increasingly global world, right? So we're working more and more online. We're doing these virtual Zoom things. So you're going to be interacting with folks from different contexts and different countries and speak different languages, etc. So they like to see that. So I've had a lot of good experiences with that. My company sent me to Italy last year to actually do training in Italian for a bunch of senior leadership there that was trying to learn a new tool. So they they remember the skills. Not only do they recognize it, but they remember it when you tell them about it, and it comes up years later and they send you places. And so that was super beneficial. And so that's kind of how I spoke about it, was like, the empathy and these international experiences, and it makes me a more global thinker. And while that sounds like just these, canned answers to things, it actually was true, and it was appreciated, and I since use it. And now I'm actually applying to graduate programs. And I will say, of the 2 interviews I've had so far, both of them spent at least 5 minutes talking about my time abroad, both working and studying. So I definitely say, I guess at this last part here, if I could give my advice, anyone who's considering to study abroad, one thing I would say is don't just do the easiest place for you that you think of, right? Not that the UK is bad. I know that, don't go somewhere though that just speaks English if you think there's going to be a language barrier. I encourage you to actually step out of your comfort zone, push yourself, and go into it with an open mind, knowing that things as simple as like going to the pharmacy or picking up a notebook for your class, that's going to look different and that's going to feel different, and you're going to be hyper aware of it. But go into it with an open mind, and very practically, do not pack as much as you want to pack. I promise you need like 2 weeks of clothes and maybe a fancier outfit, and like that's it, because you can do laundry while you're there. I brought 2 huge suitcases the first time I went, and a carry-on. Used one of them. Don't just don't. So yeah, hopefully I touched on all the things here. I think I did, just kind of.
That was great advice. Sorry. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, David. All right, let's hear from our next alumni.
Yeah, thanks, Cara. Thanks, David, for really starting us off. So hi, everyone. I'm Claire Griffith. I am a senior student services advisor with All Campus, which essentially is an online program management firm. So we partner with higher ed institutions like DePaul, like UCLA, like Harvard, and we help build out their online graduate degrees and non-credit bearing certificates. We help recruit students, we help with the marketing, data analytics, retention, enrollment. And I've been with them about 2 years now, actually. But before getting into my professional work, I kind of want to touch base on my study abroad experience. I studied abroad in fall 2015 semester in Hong Kong in partnership with Syracuse University. I chose Syracuse because one, I wanted to go abroad to Hong Kong. It was a very personal decision for me. I'd never been to Asia before, and as an adoptee from China, I really wanted to explore the region and the culture and the people that I'd been learning about all my life. I'd also studied and minored in Mandarin while I was at DePaul as well. And I really wanted to push myself and practice those conversational skills, those language skills in an everyday setting. I know within DePaul's Modern Language program, they have partnerships with other students who are attending, and you can practice those skills as well. But for me, it was really a challenge to do that in an everyday environment. So kind of like David touched on with going to the grocery store, going to the pharmacy, that was actually part of the curriculum while I was abroad. Part of our grade in the class was testing us around grocery stores, even bartering was part of it, which I thought was really exciting. Probably one of the more intense exams, but certainly worth it, because not only did I come out of that with a lot of great food, but I also learned how to test myself in different social situations that you wouldn't necessarily have in a classroom setting. I was also able to, travel around the Hong Kong area. Part of the program elements also included like a 2-week introductory seminar. And so for a lot of students who had never gone abroad before, they wanted us to get more familiar with Asian culture overall, Southeast Asian culture, Western and Southern Asian cultures. So we were able to also go to Singapore. We were able to travel to Beijing and even Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. And I found it so illuminating and changed everything about how I felt about my own culture, how as an American I felt as well. And then upon coming back to the US, I forever was changed, because culture shock for me in particular, it wasn't just as an American going abroad to Asia. I was the only Midwesterner in my program. I was also the only one from DePaul. And so the cohort that I was with as well, we had to get to know one another as well. We had to ask each other, where are you from? Where do you go to school? What are you studying? And I really attached myself to my classmates. And to this day, I'm actually still really close friends with a few of them. And every time we're in New York or every time they're in Chicago, we always try to meet up and catch up about what's going on with our lives. And professionally speaking, once I came back, I was able to network with those individuals as well that I wouldn't necessarily have that opportunity to as a DePaul student in Chicago. I was able to network with students from Syracuse, from Georgetown, from Johns Hopkins, and it really opened my perspective to what it was like as a college student in Chicago in the city. You really get to challenge yourself and meet other individuals. Professionally speaking, when I came back, I really wanted to share my experience. And so I ended up joining the DePaul Study Abroad office as a student worker. Cara is actually my manager for quite a bit while I was still a student. So it's absolutely amazing that I can still work with her all these years later. And then I would attend a study abroad fair at DePaul as well to be able to network these skills, such as, practicing Mandarin. That was such an essential marketing tool for myself. It was also being able to talk about cross-cultural experiences, being able to share the tips to other prospective students while I was still a student, while it was fresh in my mind. And then that opportunity gave me my first professional experience working in immigration at a visa expediting firm based in Chicago as well. And I was able to utilize those cultural skills to help other people who are from China, navigate the US immigration system. I was able to help people for American businesses go abroad to other various countries and really practice those cross-cultural skills as well in different professional settings. As well as David kind of mentioned, the management piece as well. I was able to migrate from DePaul Study Abroad and from immigration all the way into IS Abroad, which is also a study abroad provider. And I was able to kind of work with students who were going abroad to other program destinations hosted by IS Abroad. And it's a really important piece to be able to share this experience, because it allows me to connect with hiring managers. It allows me to connect with recruiters, and really having those experiences and communication skills helps pivot me in different directions and different industries as well. So I believe I'm at time, so I'll hand it right back to Cara.
Thank you so much. And see, such good time management skills. Look at that. I didn't even have to moderate. She did it for me. Thank you, Claire. Great. So let's hear from our next alumni who's actually a bit late. We're going to circle back for Erin Rose, and we will let our next alumni introduce yourself and share your story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cora, and thank you both to David and Claire. And so my name is Tendai Kachingwe, and I'm currently the program assistant in DePaul Study Abroad. So before I get into that, I will share a little bit about my study abroad experience. I did the Sciences Po program in France for the academic year of 2020-2021, and that program offers opportunities to study at several different cities on several different campuses with the same university, but I studied at the, in English, you can call it REMS campus, and not too far away from Paris, but I enjoyed my time so much that I actually extended my student visa to be able to stay over the summer and completed an internship in Paris, as well as a language class at the same university on their Paris campus. And so my own international experience prior to studying abroad really influenced my interest in partaking in a study abroad program. I was minoring in French, so of course going to France was something that I definitely had to do. And I ended up, after finishing the program, I became a student worker for the following academic year, and then I graduated this past June and have been the program assistant since. And so really my personal growth while abroad, it was a lot of what David and Claire mentioned in their experiences as well. Really being immersed in the culture and sort of having to communicate not only in a different language, but in a setting where, you know, the cultural tempo is quite different than your own, and sort of navigating those challenges and coming to that that self-realization and having that that problem solving, that efficacy to be able to come to the conclusion where you may have initially been lost in a place or not been able to communicate as much or as effectively as you would have liked. And then at the end of the situation, really coming out with a newfound confidence of your own abilities. So for example, I stayed in an apartment during my stay there in France, and my landlord, although he told me he could speak English, it turned out that his English wasn't so good. He said my French was better than his English, which was very debatable. But by the end of the time there, we were conversing in French quite often and really quite seamlessly. And I found people asking me for directions when I was leaving, whereas when I arrived there, I was the person that was, you know, in their shoes and whatnot. And so during the summer when I completed an internship as well, that led to a lot of professional growth because prior to studying abroad, I did have an interest in potentially being involved in like international organizations, things of that nature. And so having the chance to actually get that professional experience while abroad, it really opened my eyes to not only my own abilities, but then I guess you could say a spark was started in terms of wanting to share that experience with others, not really so much my own personal experience, but wanting to share the opportunity so that others, especially those who may not have thought that they had the chance to study abroad for whatever reason, to have that chance and then to have that opportunity to get that personal growth, to see themselves in that larger light and larger frame. And so with that, it really influenced my professional path, as you can see now that I am in the study abroad department myself. And so one of the benefits of that, as I mentioned, I had a job waiting for me right upon graduation. So that's something to keep in mind as well for those that are considering studying abroad, and how it does have really great professional outcomes. In terms of knowledge and skills and abilities, of course, a lot of the confidence that came from the problem solving, as well as having to have a lot of attention to detail, going through a lot of the paperwork, and then dealing with a lot of issues of trying to, you know, open a bank account, trying to figure out a French lease. And then, of course, the academic aspects of the program that I did, a lot of these things, even just navigating the different logistical situations, these things definitely played themselves into a lot of attention to detail that is definitely a transferable skill regardless of your profession, as well as communication, ability to be able to communicate, even if you don't have the words, finding other ways to get your point across or being able to communicate what you need and being able to get that as well. That's another skill that definitely crosses over careers, and not only in your academic career, but of course, moving forward professionally. And so as well, I would think that if I wanted to give advice to students considering studying abroad, I would tell them to, go ahead and do it. It's definitely can be challenging, and there are situations where you may not think you have the opportunity to study abroad, but if you do, go ahead and pursue it, absolutely. And so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tendai. I appreciate that. All right. And so we will have our next alumni introduce herself and share her story with us.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lizzie. I'm thinking now, there's probably a lot that I'm going to say that might be repeated because everybody else did like a really good job. I'm like, that's all really good advice. And that's probably the same advice I would give too. My name is Lizzie Dories. I graduated from DePaul in 2021 and I studied in Osaka, Japan. I went to Kansai Gaida University in 2019 to 2020. I was supposed to go a full year, but due to COVID, the program had we had to pull the plug a little earlier. So it was more of like a 6-month program. But I basically did fall and winter quarter. I also want to note, I did study abroad in Tokyo in 2018 for the summer, but that was not through DePaul. My study abroad experience, my major was communications in Japanese. So I thought this would be more than appropriate than to go to Japan and learn how to speak the language. It's a little bit hard to find Japanese speakers in the United States. In Japan is the easiest place to find Japanese speakers. So I ended up I did the homestay program. I lived with a family. It was probably one of the best decisions I made because not only did I get the opportunity to speak as much Japanese as I could, but I also got to live a Japanese lifestyle. And through there, through living somebody else's lifestyle, I felt like I absorbed so much more just culturally. I think that's the best way to put it. If you don't live with a homestay family, I think that's better for if you have your own passion projects you want to take care of in the country, if you want to do work and if you want to meet a lot of friends. Because I will say the one thing I didn't really consider it a setback, but I will say living with a homestay family, I was on my family schedule. So I had times I had to be home for dinner, and I did go on a lot of trips with my family. So I personally loved all that, but I understand, I'm saying, I wouldn't say there's one that's better than the other, either living in a dorm versus living with a family. I would say though, if you're trying to really learn a language and you also want to peer through the lens of a lifestyle, homestay was really valuable. That being said, so going on, I learned a lot of Japanese. That helped me with my future career. And so I work at a company called Yamada. I work at Yamada America branch. It's hard to explain to people that don't really know what a diaphragm pump is. It's basically just a pump that just can move liquids from one place to another really fast. So all of our pumps are made in Japan. And I work in the American branch and I work in customer service. And so I help people in Canada and the United States, if they have questions on pieces or orders, or they want to check the status on something, status on an order they made, if they want to check the price for something, I help them find all that information. And sometimes I even have to ask people in Japan. So that's where my language comes in. I have to go ask in Japanese, hey, do you know the next time we're going to get the delivery for this part? So I would love to talk to you guys about more about the little menial tasks I do all day, but they're kind of boring and hard to explain. My friends really don't want to hear about it when I talk about it, unless it's juicy drama, which we never get drama in the office place. So I'm sorry. But yeah, I basically help people I help people find the pumps they want. Like I get people that call, we have people that call like they want to pump alcohol. So I help them find a pump that can help them pump like bottle and canned beer. Probably our most booming business is the hand sanitizer industries. A lot of people want pumps for hand sanitizer. We've had people that need, like, for natural disasters, a lot of people on the South, they want pumps that can help flooding. So that's like a big thing. We're very popular in the United States. And definitely I would say my major at DePaul helped me get this job. People actually reached out to me because I started out as a temp. And they were like, do you know Japanese? And I was honest, because by the time I graduated DePaul, I was not fluent. I said, I'm not fluent, but I can hold a conversation, like a decent conversation. And like, that's good enough. Come with us. So I got a job with them. Now I work full time. But routinely, people from the other branches, so there's a branch in the Netherlands, there's a branch in Australia, there's a branch in Mexico City. The other regional managers visit, but then the president from Tokyo visits sometimes, and I only talk to him in Japanese. So definitely having that ability to speak in Japanese with the president is very good. Not only that, but I also work with Japanese people too. So there's a decent amount of Japanese people that work in logistics, and I speak Japanese with them. Working with Japanese people has helped me tremendously understand the Japanese corporate mindset. And not only that, but specifically speaking with the president, he told me something that Japanese people view about Americans. And he told me, he said, you don't know this, but the American branch is the one that makes the most money because you guys are the most bold. And I thought that was funny because I was like, I don't know, I don't get it. But he said, Japanese people, this was his words, this is a Japanese man's words, but he said, we're too shy, we're not pushy like the American. And so I thought that was kind of funny. Like we basically, he was saying like, we're okay to like constantly ask people for stuff and pound on answers. So I can elaborate more. But yeah, so I kept that in mind. Like, oh, am I brash? Am I bold? So hearing other people from Japan talk about Americans made me understand, like, what do people on the outside think about Americans? So I will say definitely in the professional growth, it made me be more mindful and aware of what people on the outside might think. Everybody's super nice. The American people that I work with, even people from the other branches, like the Dutch workers, like people from the Dutch branch and the people from Mexico City, like everyone's super nice and we all work well together and we get stuff done. But going back to study abroad, like I definitely probably wouldn't have got the job if I didn't study abroad. And it was, I think because I went to Kansai Gaidai, and I didn't know this before interviewing, but apparently that's a pretty big name bomb drop. Like when I told people I went to Kansai Gaidai, they were like, oh my God, you went to Kansai Gaidai? That's incredible. And I actually didn't realize Kansai Gaidai was like a powerful name, but it really does help. It helps you shine better in an interview, I would argue. My advice, pretty much everybody's advice before me was really good advice. So I'm trying to think of something original. I would say you're probably gonna like feel, for study abroad advice, if you do choose to study abroad, you're probably going to feel frustrated because there's going to be times where you're going to feel homesick, but then by the time you get home, you're going to miss the country you were in. And so you're going to like shake your fists at the sky. My advice is like, even if you're homesick, try and enjoy it. I agreed with David with the suitcase thing. Don't bring too many suitcases. Actually, you can bring an extra suitcase, but make sure it's empty so you can pack stuff in it. Yeah, definitely. Like I would say, just be ready for like I would say the culture shock and a little bit of homesickness. But I say for what I did to combat homesickness was I did spend time with my family. Like I would like hang out with my host mom more. Like she would literally make me tea all the time. And then we would just like kind of bond and like speak Japanese. And I'd be like, oh, you know, I had a tough day, homesickness. And she'd be like, she wanted to hug me and stuff. But then I would also like plan things to do that were really fun when I would feel homesick. So like I would, you know, go to shrines, and I'd go to the deer temple and pet deer. That's in Nara.
And Lizzie, I have to tell you, it's time. So one last thing to
sorry.
say, and then that's okay, because how do you boil down your study abroad experience to just
I didn't know how I was going to do it in
right?
5
It's
minutes.
almost impossible.
Right,
But
right.
one last thing to share before we move on.
I will say, don't hesitate. Like if you want to study abroad, you should do it. And even though like Japan was such a different country, I was very much, I felt okay. Like it was scary for maybe 48 hours. Then it was pretty good. Yeah, like I just say pull the trigger. I'm the only person in my family that studied abroad, and everybody looking back was like, you did something I wish I did. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm delighted that you get to use your language in your work. And, you know, same for David. And I appreciate the comments that are in the chat. There's a comment that says, yep, host moms, this is accurate. Host moms will adopt you as their own no matter the program. And that was certainly true in my case as well. So thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, David. Let's hear from our next alumni. Let's have her introduce herself and share her story.
Hi, I'm Sage Kagan. So I just graduated in June of this year, so 2022. And I studied abroad last fall. So now I'm having my Snapchat memories pop up at me and being like, a year ago you were here. And I'm like, oh my God, I miss it so much. But I actually am currently working at Whole Health Chicago as a patient service representative, which is a really nice title for front desk worker. So I check people in the medical office and just get them to their appointment, take new patients and stuff. But I went to Athens, Greece, and did nothing that was for my major. I was a neuroscience major graduating from college, and I'm on the pre-med track right now. I went for fun. So for me, it wasn't more of I'm doing this as a way to kind of further my professional career. It was, I'm doing this for my own personal life and see where that can take me. But it opened up so many doors because it allowed me to stand out in like a sea of applications that were like, I've done this medical thing, I've done this shadowing, like I've seen this person, I do this research. I'm like, I studied abroad. I went to Greece. I did not do any of that. I decided to have the culture shock of my life and the worst trip getting there. But it was the most fun 3.5 months of my entire life. But having that experience allowed me to be like, I immersed myself in a culture that I had no knowledge about. I went there completely open-minded, like no expectations whatsoever. And I got to immerse myself in such a diverse community that working in a fast-paced environment like the medical field, you're working with so many different people and so many different patients that now whenever I get a phone call and it's like, this patient has XYZ, it's like, you know, I can't, you know, relate to them, but I'm like, coming from being abroad and having this culture shock and having to be like, okay, I'm going to understand everything that you're telling me because I want to learn more about it. Like I'm now in this field and I'm learning so much every day from the people I talk to, just like how I was in Greece when I had no knowledge about anything. So when I came back and when I started applying to jobs in the summer, people would ask me, you know, what makes you stand out, like you studied abroad or whatever. And I'm like, having that experience made me stand out to them because it gave me the opportunity to tell them about an experience where I put myself into a situation where I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know if I was going to have a great time. I didn't know if I was going to have an awful time, but I put myself out there and I did something that I knew I wanted to do, but didn't know what the outcome would be. And I mean, I wish I could relate all of that to like this exact experience helped me land like this specific job. But in the full reality, like this experience of something so different did help me land this job, because there's like no correlation, but it shows that I'm willing to do something that is out of my comfort zone. So I think if I was giving any advice to anyone, it's as much as you also want to be like, you know, this experience is going to help me further my personal career or like my professional career, do something that also is going to like let you grow personally, like grow within yourself, not just professionally. Do something, go somewhere, anywhere in the world. Like Greece was my first pick up. Where can I go that's not going to do anything with science? So, and Cara knows too. I came to her my freshman year of if I wanted to go anywhere in the world that didn't have a science course, where can I go? And she's like, go anywhere. And I'm like, done, deal. So I chose Greece. I didn't take a single science class. It was the most liberating thing on the planet. It was like such a break, a nice break to kind of learn new things. I learned so much. I hate history, but I learned so much history and like a different cultural experience there. And I got to go to these architectural places that I never thought I'd ever get to see. So for me to be able to be like, okay, now I want to go back and learn more, that's opening up my doors for my personal self, but also being like to other employers that if like in my future, whatever, I'd be like, I'm not just going to stay in my comfort zone. I'm willing to go wherever you want to put me. Sorry, that's my cat. He's being bad right now. I'm willing to go wherever you want to put me. And that's like, as you know, in the medical field, you can't really pick and choose exactly where you want to end up and what you want to do. It's kind of like you have to be open-minded. So that's my advice. Also, the suitcase thing, do bring an empty suitcase. I brought one suitcase. I had to buy a suitcase while I was there. Cara told me to underpack. I overestimated how much underpacking I did. So I ended up having to buy like a lot of clothes while I was there. And then I overbought clothes while I was there. So don't do what I did. Bring another suitcase, just an empty one.
Thank you, Sage. And I think what you mentioned, right, about going into environments that you're unfamiliar with and you're like, okay, I'm just going to put myself out there. That kind of speaks a little bit to what Lizzie was saying, maybe about the perceptions of Americans being bold. I treat that as a compliment. I don't know, being bold and trying new things and being open-minded and not knowing what you're doing, but just being able to figure it out and observe. And also those are transferable skills, right? Any, you know, treat experiences and life experiences and study abroad experience as learning opportunities so that you can take that new knowledge, skills, and abilities into the next experience or the next endeavor that you're pursuing. So wonderful. Well, let's hear from, thank you, Sage. Let's hear from our next alumni. And we're coming to the last two alumni of our session. So I will let our next alumni introduce herself and share her story.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Levy. Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Alma. Thank you, Tendai. Thank you, everyone who is participating. This is super exciting for me, and I'm, you know, it's almost like I'm still living in Italy. But it was just a fantastic experience. This is a running joke for me now that I'm the non-traditional student. I was kind of termed that. It's a very nice way of saying I'm the older student. And so, you know, I was pivoting before everyone was saying pivoting, meaning I had gone as far as I felt like I could go in my career. I've been an entrepreneur. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. And I've worked in corporate America. And I recognized that I hit a ceiling without my degree. And so that led me to DePaul Catholic University. I grew up Catholic. And then that also led me to the study abroad. And so I've worked in hospitality for many years as a concierge provider, lifestyle management provider, and all of that came crashing down in the pandemic. And I went from a comfortable lifestyle to not really knowing how I was going to take care of things. And I took a leap of faith to attend DePaul and to participate in the study abroad program, which was the best decision of my life. I feel like I've kind of seamlessly moved into the tourism space, in an event management space. But not in the traditional sense, probably because I'm a bit non-traditional. And so I started working, I attended Florence University of the Arts. Florence, Italy is where the study abroad program was. And I worked, I went to school there, of course, but it was experiential learning, a lot of experiential learning. So I helped to plan a fashion show while I was there. I uh, produced a number of events. I kind of worked a little bit in restaurant management, was able to experience hotel management, spa management. So I got to kind of shadow different people and then actually, perform the functions. And that was amazing. And while I was there, it led to me just trying out different things. I didn't take a language course until late. And so I just studied with apps and just, full immersion. And that got me a little conversational. I'm not great, but I can, you know, speak enough to have a brief conversation, very brief conversations. But I remember going on to Facebook and saw that there was going to be this African film festival. And I'm thinking, there's an African film festival in Italy? You got to be kidding me. This is amazing. And sure enough, I went there. I sent a request in Italian and received a response back in English, which shocked me. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Um, and went to the film festival, ended up meeting the director. And it just seemed like we were all joined at the hip from that point forward, even though hospitality leadership and concierge event management, anything that's got to do with hospitality is a sincere love. My second love is film. And so to be able to partner, and I basically became a remote volunteer. I was asked to come on as a business director for 2023. It's not something that will begin to pay until 2023. But as you can see from the pictures, I was able to help curate the 2022 festival, though I was in Italy for the majority. I was there for a year, I should mention. For 2021, I was able to, in my spare time, meet with their staff, get an understanding of their vision. And then I was able to coordinate these events that you see before you. We had an amazing fashion show. I worked with well-known fashion designer based out of Africa. You'll see his clothing on the models there. In the middle, you'll see a picture of Fide standing with some of the people who helped to produce the event and also some of the festival award winners. To the left, upper left, you'll see a picture of just people at the event, watching the fashion show at that point. Lower left picture is just us working to pull everything together, lighting, sound, being able to speak to the community engagement members, having to speak to them in Italian. This was really stretching me. I've never, spoken Italian a day in my life prior to this, and now I have so many friends from Italy. So being able to help put this event together was just a joy for me. It's something I never thought I would experience. And now where is it taking me to for additional business outcomes? Well, like I mentioned, they've asked me to come on as the business director for 2023, and then also to help develop a program. So there's a film and festival internship, film and festival management internship program that's being created for 2023 that will be rolled out to American universities that are in Italy. It would be lovely if DePaul participated or any other university, that's interested in participating. And so that's wonderful. And if I had to give advice to anyone, I would say really do your homework. Get an understanding of the culture before going there so that it's not so much of a culture shock. I definitely advise studying the language, even though it was not part of my original plan to study Italian. I found it necessary in order to be able to kind of engage in a more meaningful way. So I definitely recommend doing the research and then, keeping in contact with your organizers, your advisors. They were my lifeline. I would not have made it without them. And so that's what I have to share for today.
Thank you so much, Lori. We appreciate that. Okay, and so lastly, we have our last alumni who will introduce herself and share her story.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alums Sandoval. I'm the Assistant Director of Advising Marketing within the DePaul Study Abroad office. But I am a DePaul alum, double demon. And during my undergraduate career, I studied abroad in Madrid, Spain, and it forever changed my life. Like many people have said, it's funny because I was the person that never thought I would ever leave Chicago. I mean, I'm still here, but the amount of travel that I do is something that I never expected to be a part of my life. And I came from a single family household, low income, and I was just not the student who was supposed to do this. And I somehow was able to make it happen. And it led me into a career in study abroad, which I didn't know was a career. I was studying business and coming to the end of my degree and just kind of feeling like I actually don't know what I want to do. I spent 4 years studying this, but I don't know if this is actually what I want to do with my life anymore. And when I studied abroad, it just gave me a whole different perspective on life and what is possible. And I came back wanting to, similar how Tendai said, give other students this opportunity to study abroad because I couldn't have imagined what it would do for me. And so after I came back from Madrid, I started working in the study abroad office. So just to say a little bit about the program that I did. So like many, it was a language intensive program. I actually was not a Spanish studies student. I ended up getting a Spanish minor out of the program, but it was actually not in my plan whatsoever. But I had a few years before applying to the program learned that my great grandparents were from Spain, but my family knew nothing about them. And so for me, it was a way to go find out more where my family came from. And also I grew up speaking Spanish, but definitely felt like those skills were kind of lacking. And so I said I needed to go to really push myself to improve my language speaking abilities. And so while I was there, I also interned. So I did an internship with the Spanish headquarters for Tommy Hilfiger in their showrooms, and which was really also great and kind of helped me learn. I was super interested in fashion and in marketing. And when I did that internship, I was like, actually, I hate this. I don't want to do this. So I still love my internship, but it was valuable for me in that way that it taught me this is not the industry for me. So it was great to have like a practice run that way. So in terms I've kind of hit some of these questions, but studying abroad gave me a career. I work and study abroad now. And again, like I said before, it was not a career that I knew existed. So it completely changed my life in that way. And I get to help students. I mean, David and Lori were some of the students that I work with. So it's so wonderful to see them on this call. Yeah, and so I feel that some of the best skills that I learned from my own experience, I think people have touched on this though, is being flexible. You can have all these plans set, but when you get abroad, all of it could go wrong. And you just have to learn how to go with the flow and figure it out. And I think those are such transferable skills that can apply to any industry. When something goes wrong, what are you going to do? How are you going to resolve this? And so that I think is one of the most important skills that our students learn, that I learned from studying abroad. And so it was such an incredible experience in that way. I also, like I said, I thought I would never, ever leave Chicago. I was always going to be, kind of attached to my family. And that showed me actually I can be very independent and do things on my own. And I grew just so much in that way, being pushed out of my comfort zone. I always like to say that, the point of study abroad is to get out of your comfort zone. And like many have said, it's going to be frustrating. It's not going to be an easy process, but you will learn and you will grow so much. And some of those most frustrating moments are going to be the stories you talk about and tell people later on. Be able to laugh. You might not be able to laugh about it in the moment, but later down the line, you will be able to laugh and it'll be some of your favorite memories. So in terms of advice, just do it. Like it may be so scary. I was so scared and somehow ended up being abroad for 6 months. I didn't even think I could do 3 months, and somehow stuck around for 6 months, and I would have gone even longer if I could have. But don't let your fears take control. Just do it.
Thank you, Alma. That was wonderful. And I love looking across the screen and seeing fellow alumni shaking their head. Yeah, we can all relate to that. So I want to take a moment, and I'm gonna go back because our alumni was able to join us. So Erin Rose, we have about 5 minutes for you to share your story and to introduce yourself, and then we'll open it up for questions so that our participants can ask questions. Go ahead, Erin.
Hi everyone. I'm so sorry to be late. I'm so glad I'm able to join though at the last minute. Hopefully, I'm sure the others, everything I would say is similar to what I've just heard Alma go over, and I'm sure hopefully, Tendai has given you a good experience about Sciences Po in general as a study abroad program, but I was able to do my junior year abroad, which was during, peak COVID times. So it was a very interesting experience. And I can tell you that even going through all of those difficulties attached with COVID in addition to study abroad, I still don't regret it a minute. It has given me so much, and it has given me currently the job that I have that is under a large French company. It gave me so many skills, such as we've already heard, resilience, a lot of just independence. And I think just the gift that was being able to see my life go on such a different trajectory that I could have ever imagined it before. It just gave me such an ability to see beyond even DePaul, and for DePaul to kind of be that jumping off point for me is something I'm so grateful for, to be able to meet so many other students from other schools. And like I said, just now see so many things differently. Now I'm looking at even masters, and I just feel like it gave me so much confidence that you think that is this big scary thing. And I was very lucky to be someone who I knew I wanted to study abroad for so long. That's why I wanted to do a year program. And this one especially was just so wonderful. I loved the language intensity of it. I loved the classes, the culture around it, the students, everything about it was really wonderful. And I can't recommend it enough. I think if you're even considering doing, even whether it's, December intersession, a semester, a summer, any experience is so worthwhile because, college is so short. And if you can take advantage of any program that comes up, no matter how long, I just would always recommend it. It's something you can just talk about for so long after, and it's just so worth it. So it's definitely influenced, I'm looking at even the questions, it's definitely influenced my professional path. I think almost every single job I have done while in Chicago and after graduating have been a connection with my language skills. And especially when you're able to talk about, oh, I went abroad during a massive pandemic and I was able to be independent and manage it and still be successful at it. It's such a confidence booster, and it's such a gift of independence that you can show yourself that you can do it, and you have this resilience to be able to take it on. And like I said, it's only been such a gift to me that's pushed me further, and I would just recommend the same. Because I even think that in the times that it's difficult, you are still learning so much about what you want to do with your own life path. Like, even if study abroad is something that maybe teaches you more hard lessons than good, those are lessons you wouldn't have learned otherwise, I think. So it's so useful in every way. And I think, the overwhelming response is that it's typically positive, whether that's in the immediate or long term or both, which I'm sure many people have already discussed. So I definitely want to leave some, hopefully, time for questions. Maybe if I can even talk about my experience more through questions being asked, but I want people to be able to have that floor. And yeah, I've loved it. So sorry for the very, very fast story of it. But I'm happy to answer more questions about it if anyone has any specific questions with Sciences Po Paris, the year exchange that I did.
That's wonderful. So let's go ahead and we'll open it up for questions for all 8 of our panelists. You're welcome to unmute and say your question out loud, or you're welcome to type in your question in the chat. And the question can also be for all panelists, or it can be targeted for one specific panelist. That's fine. Okay, so in the chat, we see a question: if I study abroad senior year, would that affect the time I graduate? It could. There are typically some delays with getting your transcripts back from the partner institution. If you're doing a term-long program, like a semester-long program, typically the transcripts come back about 3 to 4 months after the conclusion of your program. So it could impact the degree conferral timeline. If you're doing a short-term program during your senior year, that's done with a DePaul professor, and grades are entered according to DePaul timelines. So it's less likely that that would, push back your degree conferral and graduation timeline. So we can, definitely meet one-on-one if you want to connect with, with myself or one of my fellow advisors. We can always check into what your personal circumstances are to see how studying abroad as a senior might impact your graduation. Claire says, that's a nice photo of me from Hong Kong. I agree. I hope you don't mind. I pulled it off of your social media accounts because I thought it was such a good photo. We have such a handsome group of alumni. They're just beautiful people inside and out.
I also noticed the different photo from Paris. I thought that was funny. But I think that one might be from I think I did I wrote about study abroad for I think there was I think the Department of Modern Languages did a publication about abroad, didn't they? It was a newsletter or something.
Yeah.
And I think that photo was the one I used for that too. Good memories.
That's wonderful. I love, well, because the structure behind you is the Arc de Triomphe, correct? Or yes, in Paris. Yes.
Yeah, I would also add on that when you're abroad, a journal is a great way to kind of catalog how you're feeling, dealing with some of the, homesickness, but it also, in turn, that can help build a portfolio when you come back that could, help you with future job applications. I think when I was a student at DePaul still, I was helping to run the Sojournal, which is the study abroad blog. I never thought of myself as a leader in that kind of atmosphere, but it ended up being a really important experience that did help me during the interview process when I came back.
That's great, Claire. I'm glad to hear that.
I want to add a quick piece of advice too, and it relates to the question about as a senior too, and like my experience, because I did study abroad as a senior the second time around, but it was fall quarter, so there was a lot of time. But what I will say, and this also kind of goes bigger, if you a lot of us here did language immersion, and like we ended up having a minor or a major in a foreign language, but that's not a necessity for any of these programs. And you would be astonished at what working with your advisor, either in whatever college it may be, right? So, you know, communication, business, LAS, you work with that advisor as well as the study abroad advisors, because I think I got an art class to count towards something. I don't know. It was so definitely work with them, and you can usually, you know, kind of finagle things and get it to work for whatever you're studying. And same thing, I remember there was a bit of a delay with my grades coming back. Luckily, there wasn't, you know, I had 2 whole quarters before the graduation. But I remember my advisor in the College of Communications saying, well, you can still walk. Like, and then we'll just, you know, if we get them in June or July, whatever. I think they came in like a couple months after, it was fine. But yeah, so definitely consult with all your advisors, including the study abroad, and try your best to get as many classes. So don't think that you can't study abroad just because you're a certain year in school or because you're studying a very specific thing. There are ways you can work with people, basically. It's not as set in stone all the time. So explore that.
I would also like to add to that. So the only time I could study abroad was my senior year. It literally was no other option. Senior year fall quarter was strictly the only time I could study abroad for my major, because I had so many prerequisites to fill for pre-med that when I met with my pre-health advisor and I met with Cara, they were like, if you want to study abroad, you have to set aside like all of your learning domains and just take those abroad if you don't want to take any science classes. And working with Cara, like, you work so close with her. She's amazing. We love her. And she will literally do everything she can in her power to get you to study abroad. Like, if you think you're having like some problems, like taking some classes or whatever, like, she's there to help you. Just go to Cara. You can cry in her office. You can have a panic attack. You can do anything. And she will help you get there. I promise.
Thanks, Sage.
I literally remember like panic calling Cara like mid-semester because one of my classes was like not good, and I had to like figure it out. And luckily it turned out to be like a fine class. Like I just had to wait it out a bit longer and learn a bit more of the grading conversions. But I remember freaking out and being like, Cara, can I call you? Like, I don't know if this class is gonna be good. She's like, oh yeah, you can go ahead and give me a call. But yeah, she's very, very accessible and very helpful. Absolutely.
Thanks, Erin
Like
Rose.
funny memories to look back on now. All of the times I got so panicked, and then, like I said, teaches you a lot of independence and resilience. That's my main takeaways for sure. That have really helped in getting jobs. Absolutely.
I'm glad you said that. And it teaches self-advocacy, and it teaches problem solving, and it teaches how to sit with ambiguity and tolerate not knowing what you really want to know right now, but have to wait a month to know. So no, I appreciate that. Thank you guys for all the kind comments. And Lizzie, did you want to add something to that?
I was gonna say, yeah, that was something I didn't realize until like I got there, was that DePaul is one of the only schools that does quarters, and like every other school that was studying abroad at my school does semesters. And so for me, I'm like, okay, I need to be strategic in my class planning. Like I gotta be okay with this class for 15 weeks, not 10. And so everybody's like, wait, you do 10 weeks? And then I have to explain that we have like a pretty awesome long winter break and stuff. But yeah, like I was taking a poli-sci class, and at the beginning I was really overwhelmed with like the readings, and that we didn't have really any homework, like written homework, but we did have these quizzes, and I was like panicking. And then by the time I got halfway there, I actually like loved the class. And so waiting it out, but also like be ready, like, is this a class I want to take for 15 weeks? Because chances are the school's probably going to be on a semester system. Like DePaul is the oddball of schools because we do 10 weeks, not 15.
I also recommend getting to know people in the community. I think that was very important, very key, because it's easier to spend time with students that you are studying abroad with from the same university, or even talking to people from different universities. But it takes a little bit more to stretch yourself to get to know people in the community who could become lifelong friends. And then also, you know, Cara was amazing. But I also want to shout out Alma, who was like my lifeline while I was there. So it's true, you will be extremely resilient, but it's always wonderful when you have people in your corner.
You guys are so sweet. I promise I didn't pay anyone to say all these things.
Hers the bomb. Like I brought her back a whole pack of like Japanese Kit Kats from Japan. She's awesome.
Thank you, Lizzie. Those were delicious. That's another reason to study abroad. Eat all of the good food. Oh goodness. Any last questions or tips that we would like to share before we kind of wrap up our today's session?
I think there was a question for you about setting up time to chat, but you may have responded directly. And
Oh, I did a direct message.
Oh, okay, cool. Just making sure.
No, but I appreciate, yes, thank you for making sure that I saw that. Yeah. So I shared my email address. So, if any students would like to set up advising appointments to learn more about how to incorporate a study abroad experience into their learning during their academic career here at DePaul, you can connect with the advising team. That is Alma Sandoval and myself and Emma Devins and Martha McGivern. And we have a whole team of people here at DePaul Study Abroad who are happy to help students find ways to have an international learning experience. I mean, a lot of us are products of study abroad. It impacted our own lives and transformed our own career trajectories. So we're very happy to pay it forward and to do that for other DePaul students. So definitely check out our website. It's studyabroad.depaul.edu. Connect with our advising team. And I'd like to remind you before we leave our event today, before we wrap up our Study Abroad Alums Talk Careers, I'd like to remind everybody that we have one more event happening for Study Abroad Week, and that is an international trivia game. Yay! It's actually a lot of fun. There are prizes to win. That will be happening tomorrow, September 23rd at 3 p.m. The link and the information is posted on the D-Hub page. You can find that not only in D-Hub, but you can also find that on the DePaul University events calendar. So we hope to see you at tomorrow's events. That said, I wish everyone a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this evening. And we look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lori.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
David.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
And I thank you, Lizzie and Erin.
I'm gonna head out now. Thanks.
Oh,
It was
and
nice to hear everybody's stories. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys. Chat again soon. We'll stay connected.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there you go.